Now coming to the cerebrum is in the form of two lateral hemispheres. Each of these hemispheres include a cavity called as a lateral ventricle. Now these two lateral ventricle, these are the spaces within the cerebrum that give rise to a third ventricle, and from the third ventricle there is another structure or a cavity called as a fourth ventricle. Now the importance of these ventricles or spaces within the brain is that there occurs an important and nourishing fluid of the brain called as a CSF, which is the cerebrospinal fluid. What happens here is the cerebrospinal fluid, it acts as a shock absorber for the entire brain, and this is a nourishing fluid of the brain, and this is being produced by the ependymal cells of the lateral ventricles of the hemispheres, and this fluid circulates from both of these lateral ventricles and drain into the third ventricle by means of foramen Munro. Now from the third ventricle it moves on to the fourth ventricle, and then it passes via the subarachnoid spaces, and then it drains into the central canal of the spinal cord, which is in turn being drained by the dural venous sinuses. So this is a typical circulation that takes place in the brain of the cerebrospinal fluid. Now what happens is, in certain conditions called like hydrocephalus, there is an excessive accumulation of this fluid resulting in a condition of raised intracranial or elevated intracranial hypertension. In such cases, what happens is either the production of the CSF is high, or there is blockage in the conduction or transmission of the CSF, and this gives rise to elevated intracranial pressure, which results in conditions like epilepsy. There is one other condition called as Arnold-Chiari malformation, in which case there occurs herniation of this brainy mass, so that there is again an obstruction of the CSF and of course a encephalocele, which is protrusion of the brainy structure. So all these we can study under this central nervous system procedures.